Hey Good Spirits, I am Andy Bishop Cox, the founder and lead culture consultant for the Good Spirit Center. And today I just want to invite you in for a little chat. Today we're going to talk about psychological safety. We're going to talk about culture. We're going to talk about connection before correction. We're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about feedback versus feed forward. We're going to talk about a lot of stuff. Recently, I shared a post on my LinkedIn just talking about what hosting 30 events in 2025 taught me. And part of that revelation was that people truly, deeply desire to be seen, but they also have a fear of being seen. In order for people to truly feel seen, there has to be this moment where people cross over the connection threshold. We move from this surface level interaction to a deeper level of intimacy, a deeper level of conversation, a deeper level of connection that requires you to get all up in somebody's business. And y'all, that can feel very, very risky. The risk wasn't necessarily participating and just actually showing up. The risk was that deeper connection. The risk was exposure, because the more you get to know somebody, the more you connect, the deeper you connect with someone, you cross over that threshold into emotional vulnerability, intellectual vulnerability. You start to know things about people that they would not necessarily have shared with you on a first encounter. And I realized that the fear is not necessarily the participation, the fear is the exposure. This is something that we see happen time after time after time after time in the workplace. And this is why psychological safety is so important. Safety is not accidental. It is designed, it is created, it is intentionally crafted. And when I was thinking about this, it made me think about the ways in which organizations, how they implement safety. ADA compliance. You still have some organizations that are not ADA compliant. There are still some organizations that don't have ramps, so that way people who might be in wheelchairs can get in and have access to the building. You still have some organizations that are not up to code with fire safety, so they don't have fire extinguishers, they don't have fire alarms to pull. These are ways that we keep people safe physically. And so just over the course of my career, I'm like, what are we doing to keep people safe psychologically? Like, what are we doing to help people feel safe mentally when they come up, when they come and they show up to work and they sit at their desk and they start to do work? Do I feel safe emotionally? Do I feel safe enough to speak up? Do I feel safe enough to make mistakes? Do I feel safe enough? Okay, so in a healthy culture, what safety says that it is okay to receive feedback without shame. Safety says it is okay to give feedback without fear of being reprimanded. It is okay to engage and feed forward without having anxiety, to engage in feed forward and truly give all of your ideas and not hold back for fear of someone making fun of you or for fear of someone else taking your idea or your contributions. These are elements of psychological safety and how it all works together to provide people with what they need in order to do their best work, right? In order to be their best selves while they're showing up to do the work that God has called them to do. Now, I talked a little bit about feedback and feed forward. I did a LinkedIn learning. The young lady was just talking about, the differences and how to give feedback and ways to receive feedback. And I started to do more research, and that led me to feed forward. After just processing and utilizing feedback and feed forward in my daily life and in my work life and, with other teams, feedback is typically what an individual has experienced, and they are going back to the time that they were at the meeting. They're going back to the time that they were at the event. They're going back to the time where they were sitting using the software. And now they're thinking, okay, what did I experience when I was doing this particular thing? What was I experiencing? Was it a good experience? Was it a negative experience? Were there some issues with the software? Was it a little laggy? Was it a little buggy? Was the event organized? Was the event fun? Was the event engaging? Was the meeting structured? Did we stay on topic in the meeting? Did we cover all of our points in the meeting? What I have found with just asking people to give feedback, 9 times out of 10, people give feedback in the form of like a negative expression. So it's always, I did not like this, or I had trouble with this, or this was an issue, or this was a problem. I realized that feedback is the problem, and feed forward is the solution. So feedback provides you with the issue, the problem, the challenge, whatever the distressing moment was, the interruption, whatever it was, that is the feedback. And then the feed forward is the solution. The feed forward says, okay, now that we have this feedback, we have all of this information about what did not work. Okay, how do we fix those things? And so then you have people who offer a perspective on how to move forward. They offer a perspective, they offer solutions as to how we're going to fix these issues, how we're going to make these experiences better. Now, as I was thinking through all of this, I got on Google and, I was doing some more research, and then all of a sudden, Google had this pop-up. And the pop-up said, provide feedback, send feedback. And I clicked it, and what came up, series of prompts. And so you could click the drop down, and then there would be what the issue was, and then there was a box where you could enter more details. Most of the questions Google asked was what was inaccurate, misleading, or incomplete? What didn't work? What did you dislike or find offensive? Okay, so every option centered around an issue or an experience. And that reinforced my belief that feedback is the problem, feedback is the issue, feedback is the distressing element that you're experiencing, and then feed forward is the solution. Feed forward is how we're going to fix the problem. Feed forward is how we're going to move forward, okay? When it comes to applying this to your teams and your organizations, culture is always the thread, okay, that ties everything together. And it goes back to leaders, okay? Leaders letting the people in your organization know that this is our culture. Our culture is one where you can learn, where you can develop, where you can grow, where you can be curious, where you can be open, where you can be vocal and verbal about the things that you see and the things that you hear, right? It truly says this is a safe space, right? Like, you have the ability to be safe as you develop as an employee, as you develop as a professional, as you develop as someone who wants to do good work. And leaders, it's on you, organizations, leadership, it's on you to set the standard for the behavior. It's on you to set the standard for the actions and even the statements that are normal to your people. So when they see you as a leader acting a particular way, behaving a particular way, your people will model that. If you want an environment that is safe, if you want an environment that says, hey, we care, if you want an environment that says, hey, you have the ability to be safe in what you say here, you have to model that. You have to model that. And once they see you leading with care and compassion and understanding and empathy, then your people tend to follow suit. It's easier when you set that foundation of this is a culture of learning, this is a culture of developing, this is a culture of growing, this is a culture of making mistakes in your training, in your orientation, in your onboarding, in your interview process, right? Like, you have to let people know this is the standard. This is the standard, so when they get in, they're not confused, they're not frustrated, they're not taken by surprise. They're like, okay, they told me this, and this is what it is. And they begin to acclimate, and they begin to ease into the rhythm of the healthy culture. When you set foundations early on, and you let people know this is what our culture is. When it comes a point, and there comes a point in every organization with every employee, every supervisor, every leader, every middle manager, every intern, every volunteer, every church, every school, everywhere. There comes a point where someone is going to make a mistake. There comes a point where someone is going to fall short. There comes a point, our corporate friends where our people don't have the deliverables. They don't have the information. They don't have the reports, okay? They didn't build the deck the way that you wanted the deck built. And so there comes a point where there's conflict and then there's correction, okay? I am a firm believer that when people start messing up and people start, having these moments where it seems like they're in la la loopsy land, and when I say la la loopsy land, I just mean it feels like the person is kind of spaced out. It kind of feels like they're disjointed, and it kind of feels like their body is there, but their mind has left the building, right? When people get into that space, and as a leader, as a supervisor, you have to cross over from everything is great, everything is wonderful. Now you've got to sit with this person and say, hey, we're having some issues. The report wasn't turned in on time. There were a lot of mistakes in the report. The deck wasn't completely finished. It had incorrect information in it. The spreadsheets are not finished. The numbers on the spreadsheet don't match and don't add up. You were late to this meet. Like, when all of the things start happening, and you have to start correcting people, and you start traversing in growth and development territory, and in allowing this person to really be developed, right? Like, this is the moment. You cannot correct anyone. You cannot correct an employee. You cannot correct an intern. You cannot correct a volunteer if you have not made a connection with that individual first. If you have not built up your bank of connection, of points of connection, of moments that provide this person with safety and lets this individual know that they are in a safe place to receive feedback and to give feed forward, you cannot correct people. You have to do the work of building people up and making deposits within to make people feel good enough to withstand the hard thing that they're about to hear before you correct them. They have to have enough emotional, enough mental, enough support internally to know this person has my back. This person is not saying this as an attack. This person is not saying this to make me feel bad. This person is not saying this to embarrass me. They're saying this because there's a gap. They're saying this because they have noticed that my work performance has declined. They're saying this because they see that I'm a little stressed out. They're saying this because they care. They're saying this because they want me to be all that I can be. They're saying this because they want me to be the best. They're saying this because they want me to be a well-rounded professional. They're saying this because they want me to be a purpose professional. They're saying this because, yes, the organization has goals to meet and we're not meeting them. Yes, but at the root of it, this person knows that you're saying all of these things because you care about them and you want to see them thrive, period. Okay? And when you make connection before you correct, it is easier for an individual to receive the hard thing that you are saying to them. It is easier for them to know that because they made a mistake, they're not going to be fired for it. They know that they're not going to be embarrassed. They know that everybody has their back. They know that you all are working towards the same common goal. They know that you all are all on the same page, right? They know that the team is going to team, right? And they know that this moment of hearing the correction, of hearing the hard thing is going to develop them and is going to make them into a better professional, okay? So there has to be connection before there is correction. There, period, plain and simple. All of this works together. All of this works together with culture being the foundation. Culture being the thing that says, hey, here's our standard. Culture being, these are the actions that we have. These are the behaviors that we have. These are the statements that we have. These are the values and the morals that we stand by here at this organization. And as a leader, you're leading and you're modeling this for your people, okay? You're helping them to see that safety leads to connection. Connection allows for correction, and then correction, when done with care, leads to growth. Okay. Now we can breathe, okay? Now we can breathe. And all of this came from me just sitting down and just thinking through all of the events that I hosted last year and just seeing how people struggle with that little bit of tension between wanting to be seen and the fear of being seen. I pray that this has blessed you in some kind of way. I pray that it has provided you with immense value and immense understanding on just how to connect deeper with people and the ways in which connection before correction ultimately leads to growth. So whatever day, month, or time you find yourself watching this video, I pray that it finds you well in good spirits. And until next time, I will talk to y'all soon. Bye.